Howdy folks, the John Machine here. Today I wanted to start a new series where I drew out a new fan-made Pokemon region. I've seen some videos where people do that, like the ones on Subjectively and the Mr. Buddy channel, and I thought I'd do the same. Nintendo's been ripping off real places on the planet since like 1996, like Kanto, Japan, Kansai, Japan, Kyushu, the Okinawa Islands, Hokkaido, New York, France, the Hawaii Islands, Great Britain, and Ireland. And that's just the official Nintendo release regions. If you really wanted to go into the fan-made ones, you've got Greece, Italy, California, Mexico, Australia, Scandinavia, Canada, and probably the rest of the world, to be honest. One place that I've not seen is a place that I'm rather partial to, well, because I live there, and it's New England. And seeing as we now have an official England region, I think it's pretty appropriate to make, well, the new one. So that's the one that we're going to tackle in this series. I'm not going to get into the build-up of the region in this video because I want to hop right into the art and make some Pokemon. I'm going to start with number 1 of the Pokedex and make the grass starter. I was inspired by the videos on Subjectively. When I saw his idea for a garden snail starter Pokemon, I loved it. This finished product was amazing, but it wasn't initially what I pictured in my head. I'm going to keep the snail using pottery idea as an aesthetic because I think it's really cool. And let's face it, this video is pretty much a rip-off of his anyways. I also wanted to keep with his original concept of a literal garden snail, a snail with a garden growing on its back. This motif will be easier to see in the later evolutions as the plants in its shell overgrow the pot. But the first stage I called Gastropod. Gastro from gastropod, the class that snails fall into, and pot for the pottery on its back. Taking a break from the grass starter, let's move on to something a bit more original and work on the starting bug line for this region. I'm not going to do all the starters in one video because I want to know what you guys want to see for the fire and water starters. This concept was one that a friend gave me, and honestly, it might be my favorite of the lines in this video. The idea was a firefly that really was a fire type. Fireflies being prevalent in the New England area, I thought it was a perfect fit. It would be a 2-staged evolution, and it would evolve at an early level like many of the other bugs in past games. Starting as a glowworm and becoming a firefly. I wanted it to look like there was literally fire inside it by making not just its light glow, but also its eyes, to resemble the fire inside, where moves like Ember and Flamethrower might come from. And here they are. First stage, Illumigate, for Illuminate and Maggot. The second stage, Pyrotine, from Pyro, meaning fire, and Terrotine, which I think is supposed to be the scientific name for a firefly. I got mixed info though, so any firefly experts out there can tell me whether or not I got that right. Going back and doing the second stage of Gastropod, I wanted to start that motif of the garden getting too unruly and growing out of the shell. I also wanted to go back to that derpy, almost awkward middle stage thing that a lot of the earlier generations have. A lot of people don't like that. I always thought that they gave the Pokemon so much more personality, as if it was like really growing along beside you and these were its awkward teenage years. I don't know. I love the way that this turned out in the end. This possibly could be my favorite in the line. Mollusprout, named after mollusk, the fauna that snails belong to, and sprout, referring to the sprouting plants and funguses on its back. The third and final line in this video, before we get to the final stage of Gastropod and Mollusprout, is actually the first concept that I ever made for this video. And actually, one that I've had on my mind in some form or another since I was a kid. The concept was a tadpole line. Instead of evolving into just a water frog, its final form would become a water and flying type. And though it couldn't really fly, it'd almost work like a flying squirrel, where it would glide with webbed limbs after it leapt up into the air. I also kept the fish-like fin on its head. I was going to discard it before the final form, but it stylistically tied the three together really well, so I kept it. You can also see that when I got to the last form, I actually swapped the color palettes to something that I thought would fit a little better. The naming conventions were pretty simple for this line. Tadpuddle for tadpole, the first stage in a frog's life, and puddle, a place where I imagined that these guys would be found in. Tadpuddle would evolve into Vibrotad, as it would gain moves like Supersonic and Sonic Boom. This represents frogs' tendencies to chirp loudly as they reach maturity to attract mates. Therefore, Vibrate and Tadpole, again for the same reason. Then finally, Amphiboleap, for amphibian, the class that frogs fall into, and leap, something that frogs do. Moving on to Mollusprout's final stage, and the last Pokemon in this video, I wanted a hulking, massive slug creature with almost a full ecosystem on its back, something like Torterra, but a snail instead of turtle. This was something in Subjectively's original concept that I really grappled onto, that he decided to drop. I actually designed this Pokemon over 5 times. It was difficult to find a mix of snail-like and monstrous, and also make it fit in the line. But I think it did a pretty good job in the end, which resulted in Garlug, a mix of the words garden and slug, while also accidentally getting the word lug in there, which means heavy or bulky objects. A verb that I think describes this Pokemon pretty well. And that's that. Those are the 3 lines for this week. Again, I plan to make this a weekly or bi-weekly series, depending on how things go, so if you have an idea, feel free to comment it. Next time we'll tackle the Water Starter, and 2 more early route Pokemon, so turn on the bell if you want to get notified when I upload next.